Hello and welcome to a special Silksong edition of Starside Chat. Shaw, I would say. My name's Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Yeah, good. I was going to try to use the thing that the character said in the first game when you fighters, she's like, get good or whatever.
Yeah, that's another thing she says.
Yeah, we'll just have to, like, maybe I'll find some little sound bites and pepper them through the episode. Although that might also be too much effort, so we'll see.
We're foregoing our usual format. We're not really going to be talking about news. There was a 007 First Light PlayStation State of Play that perhaps we'll discuss at some point. But today, it's all about Silksong. We've both been playing it. I believe I am farther than you because I had a lot of downtime this weekend for various reasons, and so I really dug in. But paint the scene for me, Zach. How was the 4th for you when it released?
I was going to ask you about it because I don't have an interesting story to tell. I was at work, wanted to play it, obviously, and I saw like the tweets of people being like, "Oh, everybody get ready, strap in, this thing is going to go live." And then I started later seeing, oh man, the storefronts are down. Nobody can get this thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm at work. I don't have to deal with this right now. And I later eventually got onto the Nintendo eShop on my phone and just bought it and let it remotely download onto my Switch while I was still at work. And so by the time I got home, it was on my Switch ready to go. And I didn't really have to think about it.
Similarly to you, I was at work. I did take the 5th off, the Friday off, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I saw the discourse online. It crashed the PlayStation Store, the Nintendo eShop, Xbox Marketplace, and Steam all went down because people were just all trying to grab it at the same time. For a good portion of the day, I think it went live, in quotes, at 9 a.m. Central. And then people were still having trouble around lunchtime. But similar to you, I got home. I didn't buy it on my phone. I just I got it on. Oh, you got it on Switch, right? You said you Switch?
Yes, I did get it on Switch too.
I also got it on Switch too. I got home, had no trouble getting it into the eShop, and downloaded it. And then I went out and got some dinner. And then I came back and I started it. And I played until, I think I played from, like, I want to say 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. the first night.
Nice. That's a good long while. I wish I could have done that, but I did not have the foresight to take Friday off. And then I was out of town over that weekend after it came out. But I did have it on. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get it on Switch. So I could take it with me. And so I did play some over the weekend. But I'm definitely not as far as you are. But I'm definitely having a good time with it so far.
I should have looked at my hour count. I played all of Friday pretty much. I took some breaks. I played a good portion. I played the evening on Saturday. And then I was up until like 3 a.m. And then Sunday was another day I got to play all day. And then Monday night, I went back to work on Monday, and then Monday night I played for another like 2 hours or so. So I am deep into Act 2, I would say. For if you're at all, I think it's somewhat more linear than I was expecting. I am in like the cog heart section, the like gears section. Where are you at right now?
I believe I am in the like Bell area, Bell Heart, because I am just about. So I went through, what is that place, Shellwood, where you fight the Sister Splinter, and you get the like basically being able to climb walls ability, whatever that's called. And then after that, I was like backtracking a little bit, and I found this other boss that I believe is called Widow, and I have not, but like I could hear them like down below. If I drop down into the boss room, they'll begin attacking me. And I was like, I don't have time for this right now. And so I basically put the Switch in rest mode, and that is where I will pick up when I next get a chance to play. But yeah, so I'm definitely not as far as you. How much backtracking have you done? I would ask, I guess.
I would say almost a surprisingly small amount, which is kind of crazy. Compared to Hollow Knight, I just feel like there's always somewhere new to go. Yeah. And I haven't had to like look up where to go. There's just like always like, there's always like 3 things I could be doing. And so I have not felt like I mean, obviously getting the wall cling ability makes you want to go back and see what you can find.
Yeah.
And so I did do some of that. I went into Hunter's March very early and found it to be too hard, and so I left. And then I went back again, and it was again too hard. But yesterday, I finally... So I guess a big conversation that's going on right now, and I feel like this happens whenever a Dark Souls game or any sort of like difficult game comes out. There's a lot of conversation online about, is this game too hard? And specifically, at least the thing I've been seeing on TikTok is people are saying that this the Savage Beast Fly is like a very, very difficult boss. And it is hard. I tried to beat it many times and eventually gave up. And then I came back like hours later and was able to defeat it. But yeah, the Savage Beast Fly, the Morwing gave me some trouble. But the hardest boss that I have found is one you have not gotten to yet. Another thing people are saying is that they are this is a trope of this game, this type of game, and also of Souls games, is you die and then you have your little corpse run.
Yeah.
You have to, the last bench, yeah.
What is that called?
Run, yeah.
Boss run?
The run back or whatever. And some of them are a little punishing, and you can't just like drop back into the arena. And specifically, the one that I had the most trouble with has kind of an unreal boss run back. Where I mean, by the end of it, I was getting it down to a science, but you really just need to commit to jumping into places where you don't know where you're going, and then it's like very punishing because basically all the walls will kill you. But then you get back there and maybe you have like a couple less masks or whatever. But
there was at least like a couple in Hollow Knight that I remember specifically being like making me want to rage a little bit because the run back was like a pain to do because it involved like some tricky platforming to get there, or you had to like try to really avoid some like difficult or annoying sort of minion enemies. And so far, I think the only one that I found to be, I wouldn't say difficult, but like long and like kind of an annoying way was, maybe it was, what was a Morwing boss? Is that the one I'm thinking of? The one that like is a flying boss. I remember specifically because you like, it's not hard because you can avoid all the enemies on your way there, but you have to like float for a while or you can to like avoid enemies. And I just remember like at one point running back to the boss and just like floating slowly and like, I could deal without this. Like, what if there was just a bench right outside this room and I could drop down and deal with it? But
definitely the worst offender in Hollow Knight was, I think, I don't remember what it was. I think it was called like the Betrayer, or it was like a Mantis Lord that was in the Queen's Garden.
Yeah,
and you had to like,
I remember it being like really grassy and green, and there was
like
all
those thorns, and there were those platforms that drop down if you are on them for a 1 second.
Yeah, so yeah, I think we're specifically thinking of the exact same spot in Hollow Knight that was like a real pain.
Now that was more punishing because when you die in Hollow Knight, you lose basically half of your soul container, and so you really want to get your corpse back. Whereas in Silksong, you're really only losing rosary beads, which are hard to come by, and there are some kind of crazy amounts that you need to collect. I definitely spent some time like grinding rosary beads. There are a couple of places where you can just like get on a bench, go through like a circle, like do a circle, and then come back to that bench and do that for like 10 minutes and amass kind of a large amount of rosary beads. But Zach, I'm loving it. I have to say that's my headline is that I can't get enough of it. It's all I think about, and I am loving every second of it. Even though there was like maybe a 4-hour period where I couldn't get past this boss, the final boss of Act 1, whose name is the Last Judge. Was just it was tough. It was a hard time, but I'm loving it.
I have run into situations where I'll get like frustrated enough where I'm like, okay, I need to put this down for a while and then come back to it, as opposed to like I'm just gonna power through and bang my head against this wall until I get through it. I've actually had to put it down for a while and walk away and come back. Which usually I feel like is better for me anyway, because I feel like if I do start getting into a situation where I'm banging my head against the wall, I will get worse at it as I go. And so I need that break. But
yeah,
I agree that like it took me a while to remember how like healing worked in Hollow Knight because at first I was like, oh, this is great. You can just like hit enemies and restore the silk to be able to like recharge your masks. Because I was thinking of it in terms of like Elden Ring or something like that, where you only have like a certain number of Estus flasks before you have to like find a resting spot again to recharge them. So I do prefer that, but I do also think that like this time around, what if they had like done some quality of life improvements such that like you could just like fast travel to previous benches you'd been to, or if you could not need to have the compass equipped to be able to see where you are on the map. It's just like little things like that it's just like, I know you did that in the last game, but like nobody liked it. So what if you just didn't do it this time around? I don't know. Did it take you any amount of time to adjust to the new sort of pogo movement?
Well, Zach,
it's more of
that's
a diagonal.
An interesting question.
Because you switched it out, didn't you?
I did, yes. I wasn't sure if you had gotten that far yet.
I am aware of it. I don't have it, but I'm aware that you can get it. Which is another reason why I think I need to backtrack in order to like find some of that stuff, but it was difficult, especially because the first time I reached Hunter's March, I did still have the Hunter's Crest. And frankly, it's not cool to have to do those like little red bulbs to like bounce off of those. And then also, I think I still had it when I did Greymoor, when I went over to like all those crows. And that's a situation where, of course, you have to inflate all those balloons and then bounce off of those. And also very difficult if you're going diagonal. So I can tell you it was not easy.
Not easy.
You do learn it by practice, just as a consequence of having not gotten the what is that, a crest or a tool that makes it so that your downward pogo attack is more like the original Hollow Knight one, as opposed to the sort of diagonal one that you start out with in Silksong.
The truest one, I believe, is the Wanderer Crest, which I think feels very similar to the Knight. It's very quick and precise. I think the terminology they use in like describing the quest is like quick, precise movements. And that does feel almost exactly like the nail that you have in Hollow Knight. I got that one and I liked it, but I only used it for like 5 minutes because for whatever reason, I then immediately found another crest, I believe in Greymoor, called the Reaper Crest. And that one, it's similar in that it allows you to pogo downward like the old times, but it is slower and does more damage. And then it also has an additional perk that I think is better. And so I have mostly been using the Reaper Crest. I know there's like 3 or 4 more, but I don't know what they're... Oh, you know what? And I also got another one, but I found that third one I got to be awful, and so I am not using it. And I know there are like 2 or 3 more, but I would say, yeah, that's a huge game changer, is to get the Wanderer or the Reaper, which I think you can get, well before getting to Act 2. And it makes all those things like... like I went back to Hunter's March immediately. I was like, oh, this is so easy to navigate. And then I got to the end of Hunter's March, which is that savage beast fly. And I was like, oh, this is still impossible for me. And so I had to go back a third time when I felt more confident.
I don't remember the savage beast fly. Maybe I have not done this yet.
It is at the very end. Well, I guess I'm not sure where it ends, but I mean, it basically, you run through the entirety of Hunter's March, and then there's like a cave you can find, and you go in it and you defeat it. But here's something else crazy. Right where the Hunter's March is, that's another one that's kind of a crazy boss run back, where you have to fall and then go to the right real fast, and then there's some pits to jump over, and then you eventually get back to where the Savage Beastfly is. There's also a vendor in that location, but I didn't know about him. And then I was just like randomly watching TikTok, and it was like, did you know there's a secret vendor in Hunter's March? And I was like, oh, crazy. I was unaware of this. But I went there in Act 2, and something happens. I'm not sure what is implied here, but I went to that vendor, and he was just dead. And so I was like, oh, I guess I don't get to do this. So I would say try to find that vendor before Act 2, and he will be alive.
Interesting. Did you, speaking of like NPCs, did you meet Garmund and Zaza? And did you talk to them so that they would help you against the Moorwing boss?
I did. I was wary about that. I didn't Google anything. I'm trying not to Google too many things. But of course, there is the person that helps you in a fight in Hollow Knight is, I think, Cloth is her name? Or Toph?
Yeah,
I think it's Cloth.
I thought about this too, but go ahead.
And if you talk to her 3 times, you like can meet her in like the Underdark or wherever. If you talk to her every time before you get to that boss we were talking about that was so awful to get back to, she will join you in that fight. But then she dies in that fight, and it's very sad. Mm-hmm. And I engineered it so I did not meet her a third time. And if you do that, if you defeat that boss without meeting her a third time, then she just shows up in Dirtmouth and is just like very cutely sleeping, and so she's fine. And so I was worried this old man riding this little bug was going to perish, but he did not, and he continues to show up.
At least not yet.
I think I would be fine with him dying.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely worried about that. I thought back to that Cloth character, like you said, and I was like, uh-oh, is he going to die during this boss fight? Is he going to, like, tank some, like, crazy damage that would have killed me and end up killing the Moorwing? But that did not happen. But I suspect I'll run into him again at some point.
You will. Here's who I am afraid is going to die. I feel like Sherma might die, and that will be devastating.
Sherma? Which one's Sherma?
Sherma shows up constantly for me. I've met him at least 4 times. Him or her, I don't know. But the first time you meet them, they're the ones that are singing that song and banging that little bell. You meet them because...
yeah, that guy. Okay.
They're in front of a door, and he's like, I'm praying to this door, and it'll open because my prayers are cool. And then you open the door, and he's like, isn't this great? The door opened because of my prayer. And then you meet him a little later at like a resting ground or something, and there's this bug who's obviously like not doing well. And Sherma is just like, I'll play you a song. It'll make you feel better. And the bug is just like not into it. I've had a couple more interactions with him, and specifically, he shows up sitting next to the bench, right, like during like the place where you are when you fight that final boss of Act 1. And so I was like, man, I don't know if there's a situation where like if I leave this boss to try to go get stronger, if he'll just die somehow. Like I was worried that he's like sleeping right by the bench, and you can wake him up and he'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to proceed soon. So I was like, man, I feel like I have to beat this boss, and I'm worried if I leave and go fast travel somewhere else and he's gone, his corpse is just going to like be in the boss room or something if I don't defeat. I don't know if that's true or not, but it made me like stay fighting that boss when I should have just like gone and leveled up or something. But very curious to see. He's still alive. I've encountered him a couple times in Act 2, and I don't want him to die. I would be very sad if he died.
Yeah, and then there's Chakra, who is the map trader. I wonder if she's going to have a role other than just providing you maps. at some point. But
it's interesting. She's looking for her mentor, and we have not found her mentor yet. I don't know where that will happen. I actually haven't found her in Act 2. I haven't really been finding her because you start to get maps different ways. So I'm not sure where she's even I think she's at Bellheart right now because she likes to hang out in Bellheart when you unlock it as sort of like her main zone. So her story's not over for me yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if she hops on and helps you defeat a boss or not. But yeah, she's another person who I would really hope does not die.
What is the sort of, I guess, tool is what they call it, that your sort of ranged attack that you use?
It's one that you don't have, I don't think. Do you want me to reveal it to you?
Sure.
This is that one I was texting you about that you need craft metal for. If you go to the top of Greymoor, or at least what I believe to be the top currently, there is a little room you can find. I think it's a hidden room. And it's like, oh, the stuff in this on this workbench could be turned into a tool. Do you want to like use it? You have to use a craft metal, which I initially did not have a craft metal, so I just like put a marker down, and eventually I found one and was able to come back. It's a little, it's in the trailers. It's a little ball, and you throw it and it explodes. And I've been using that. There's like a pretty big AOE that it does, and I found that to be very effective. That's the one I've primarily been using.
I only have one, and it's the long pen where you get like 10 spears basically that you can throw. And they don't seem like they do all that much damage, and they're a little bit tricky to throw, so I don't use them all that much. But I have so few like items or crests or whatever to actually use that I am using the polyp pouch, which applies venom to the tools. So I need to like probably think more about like actually throwing those spears.
I have found like 3 of those polyps, but I don't know where the other ones are. They all in Shellwood?
I think maybe one of them is in Bellheart, but the rest of them are in Shellwood.
Interesting. I need to do that. Yeah, I have that quest like half done right now.
Speaking of which, so what do you think of like how they handle side quests now? Because it's a little bit different from how they did it in Hollow Knight. Definitely more of like a concrete way to like actually track them.
I think it's great. I definitely, there were times where I was like, I don't really want to progress the story. I just kind of want to like live in this zone, especially like when I've gotten a new item. And that gives you the chance to be like, okay, I'm going to chill for a second. And a lot of them do give good rewards. Like some of them are rosaries and that's fine. But some of them are like items, like tools and whatnot. A couple people have rewards that give you like mask shards, which is good. I'm all about it. I think they're great. I did get one. So I found 2 ways, I believe, to upgrade my needle. And one of the ways right now seems absolutely impossible to me, and that it's a quest that I have. And I have not I've not really tried because I'm waiting to... Here's something else I wanted to talk about. Hollow Knight is very similar to Silksong in that you get the double jump like way late into the game. Like I still don't have a double jump, and I'm hours and hours into this game. I'm deep into Act 2, and I have no idea when I'm going to get a double jump, which is wild. It's similar to Hollow Knight because I feel like it was a super long time before... I think you had to like go into the abyss to get the double jump is where you collected it eventually. I actually don't remember where you get it, but...
although I will say so you get, I guess, relatively early on the ability to run, and
that was awesome.
When you hit the run button, you do like a dash type of a thing, which you can do in midair. I've played like a fair number of Metroidvanias where like the ability to dash in midair is like a different upgrade to like dashing on the ground, and also like you don't have like a run ability and a dash ability in the same upgrade. They're like separate upgrades and all of that. And so this just kind of gives you all 3 of those in one go.
I would say almost nice. The dash ability is perhaps the biggest improvement from Hollow Knight. It's just like The mobility it gives you, it's so fun to just like run around. Are you using a Pro Controller to play this?
I have played some in portable mode, and I'm using my Switch 1 Pro Controller the rest of the time.
I maybe this is true for the Switch 1 controller as well, but the Switch 2 controller, when you run, the haptics on it are so good. You can feel her little feet tip-tapping as she runs. And then similarly, what also blew my mind was when you get to Greymore and it's raining, you can feel the raindrops on the controller because of like the HD rumble. It was like, I was like, man, what am I feeling right now? And I realized it was the rain, and it kind of blew my mind.
Man, that makes me almost wish I was playing this on PS5, because I do not have a Switch 2 Pro controller, but I would bet that the DualSense has some nice haptics for this game.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they used the triggers in interesting ways. I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
Have you had a favorite boss so far?
That's a good question. I keep wanting to call it Morrowind, but it's Morwing. The Morwing boss, or I at first hated the Sister Splinter boss. And I think I mostly hate that boss because it spawns ads. And I find that really annoying. So yeah, I'll go with Morwing, because I thought that was an interesting boss fight for sure. What about you?
You know, a lot of the bosses I have had to fight multiple times, but I only had to fight these. I am in the cog area right now, and to get into the like cogwheel zone, I don't remember what the name of the biome is. You have to defeat these twin cogwheel guys, and it's a very interesting boss fight. I only had to do it twice because the mechanics, they kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? They not orchestrate. They what is it where you tell someone where you're going to be? They
taunt.
Not taunt. Although you can taunt. Did you know you can taunt?
Yeah, I was gonna say I looked up a like tips video, and somebody had put together a video, and they said you if you press the right stick, you taunt to lure enemies, and you can use that to lure them into traps that you've laid.
I have used that because a lot of flying enemies will keep their distance, and you want to get rid of them before you start to do platforming challenges. And so I'll get them to come over to me and die, and then I can start to pop around on balloons and stuff.
Yeah, I should use that. I have not used it, but it's a good tip.
Telegraph was the word I was looking for. They telegraph where they're going to be, kind of similar to Into the Breach, where you can like tell where an enemy's going to be in the next turn. And it made for a very interesting boss fight. And that boss fight ends in a very interesting way as well. There is a big thing I want to talk about, but it hasn't happened to you yet. And I feel like I should not discuss it because it was a big surprise to me. And I want it to be a surprise for you. But perhaps we'll talk about... I'm going to make a note to talk about that next week if it happens to you.
Okay.
I'm loving it. All the music is great. It's like... It makes you realize that, I mean... you're getting stuff in Hollow Knight, but I feel like you're getting way more stuff in Silksong. I feel like similar to like Elden Ring, like how Elden Ring was always, people were always like, oh yeah, you're always getting useful items. Like every item you get is a new and interesting thing. And like every cave you go into is just like worth it because you're always collecting interesting objects. And similarly, Silksong, I feel like, I mean, sometimes you'll go through a little gauntlet and the result will be, oh, here's a frayed rosary. And those are kind of like, all right, whatever, that's fine. But a lot of times you're getting interesting tools, and some of them I only use like 1 or 2 times just to like try it out. But I feel like I'm amassing a huge collection of stuff, which is very cool. And it just makes exploring like so satisfying.
Well, I was going to say, I don't remember Hollow Knight well enough to say whether most of the bosses had like some sort of ability or some sort of crest or some sort of drop for you when you defeated them. But I feel like this game doesn't always do that, where a lot of like the movement abilities are all tied to these sort of very Metroid-esque like shrine type things that you interact with, and then it like gives you whatever the movement ability is, which I don't remember being the case in Hollow Knight. So that's kind of like a new thing for Silksong. But let's go through the upcoming patch notes.
Yes.
Talk about new stuff.
Team Cherry has announced, as of today, I believe, that they are going to come out with the first patch, I think sometime next week. And, you know, there was that discourse around it being difficult. And so they have said they are going to tweak the early game difficulty. Specifically, I think they're tweaking the Morwing and Sister Splinter. Slight difficulty reduction in early game bosses Morwing and Sister Splinter. They also are tweaking the rosary economy because people are saying that things are a little bit too expensive. And specifically, when you get into the Citadel, Act 2, it is very much like a lot of things. I mean, you're getting a lot of rosaries because everything is rosary based. It's kind of crazy that half of the enemies in this game don't give rosaries because they're like not zealots or whatever. You have to like track down people who are pilgrims. But everybody's a zealot in the Citadel. But also a ton of stuff in the Citadel costs money. And like even like benches and stuff will... There's like the benches you find initially in the Citadel are like rentable. Because obviously the church is trying to like suck all the money out of the pilgrims. And so you pay like 10 rosaries and you get a bench, but then it goes away after you use it, which is kind of crazy. So they're tweaking the rosary economy, at least in the early game. And then they're just fixing a lot of bugs. But yeah, you will have to, you are going to have an easier time with the Morwing boss as well as Sister Splinter. I didn't have a super hard time with Sister Splinter, but Morwing was the first time where I had to really play multiple times and finally get through it.
Yeah, I definitely remember seeing people complain about the sort of economy of the game. And I do think like it took a long time to realize what like the shards did, because I was at like max shards, 400 shards or whatever, and couldn't collect any more. And I was like, well, what's going on? How do I even use these? Before I finally got my first like tool and was able to actually use something that made use of that resource. I don't know about you.
Well, so I was sitting on max for a lot of the game, except I think there's a thing in Bone Bottom where they want you to donate shards, which I did, and then I didn't have shards for a while. But obviously, yeah, your tools. I'm surprised. There's an early tool that I thought you would get. It's I think what a lot of people's first tool is. It's like the knives. You get like 12 knives that you can like throw out really fast.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people using those, and I was like, man, where are those? Because they would be better to have than the thing I do have.
I think they're somewhere very attainable for you. I think they're very early game.
Yeah, I need to backtrack, but that's part of my complaint, that they make it so that you do have to do so much backtracking as opposed to just like fast traveling to previous benches.
Well, I love to fast travel also. I love the Bell Beast. I think that's very fun. I use it all the time.
I think I've only found like one spot where I can actually use that.
Oh, really? He's in every biome.
Is he? Well, maybe I just haven't found him yet. I don't know. Either way, I need to figure that out, because it would probably be a good idea to do a bunch of backtracking now that I have like the ability to climb walls and stuff. So I was going to say about shards,
I was like, oh, I'll never run out of these, because you use your item and then the next time you sit at a bench, it kind of like sucks the shards in and refills your item. However, again, during that last judge boss fight, I would use all my tools and then die. And that happened, for 4 hours. And then I eventually ran out of shards. And I was like, man, I guess I don't get to use tools for this fight. And then I remembered I had got some free like shard bundles, which are similar to rosaries, where you can just like break them and then they go into your inventory. And so I did that, and I was like, okay, I'm just not going to use tools unless I'm sure I'm about to win. And so I fought that boss for an hour and a half, and like didn't use tools. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I've never seen this phase before. I've been doing a lot of damage. I'm just going to use all my tools right now. And that ended up being the difference maker for me. And I finally was able... Well, I defeated that boss once, and then I had to defeat him a second time. But it was... The tools, I thought I was worried I wasn't going to use that much, because I don't like the way you activate them. You just press like up and then your cast. I wish there was a dedicated button for that instead of having to press up.
I think that's why I don't use them that much, because when I do think to use them, I end up accidentally activating my one that uses up my silk, and then it's just like, well, great, now I don't have the ability to heal. I was not trying to do that.
I wish there was a dedicated button. I don't really know what button it could have been, because they seem to use all other buttons, but yeah, I wish there was a different way to activate them. But I will say, in hard boss fights, if you can really utilize them, it really is a difference maker. And I would recommend getting that explosive one that I got, because it does a ton of damage. And also, if it's a boss that spawns ads, if you aim it right, it will do damage to the boss and also get rid of the ads instantly, which is a great thing. And I think it's great. I also have been using a lot of there's like one that like you throw out and sticks in air and is like a little spike trap. And that one was also super useful if you can get people to walk into it.
Yeah, I've seen that there's one where you like can throw down a spike trap on like the ground. And if you throw out a couple of them and just let the enemy like stand in it for a long time, they just keep taking damage over and over again.
I really want to get that one. I don't know where it is. I've been trying not to Google where to get things. Like, obviously, I'm seeing a lot of people play it, and I'm seeing a lot of interesting items. Mm-hmm. And I might get to a point where I'm like, okay, I've progressed enough where I've seen a lot of things. Now I need to start tracking stuff down. But for now, I'm still just having fun rolling around and finding stuff. So if I get to the point where I have like every movement ability and I still don't have some tools, I think I am going to start looking stuff up.
Yeah, the only thing I looked up was the locations for all of those, like the polyp things to get that.
I might do that too, yeah.
Because I was right there and I was like, these are probably all in this zone, so let me just look them up so I can knock this out right now. Because otherwise, like, side quests are going to start stacking up in my inventory, and I'm going to have to remember to backtrack to them. But so yeah, now I have to backtrack to other side quests and start checking off more of those.
It sounds like there's a ton of stuff for you to find.
The Lost Fleas one, have you done that yet? Or are those like kind of like the worm one from Hollow Knight, where it's like an ongoing one that you won't complete until pretty late because they're like strewn about, No,
they break it up in this one, because I think it's a quest you get, and it's like, find 5 fleas. And so you find those and you go back to them and they're like, great, we can go to our next place. And then they go to the next place and they're like, well, find 5 more fleas. I think it's 5. And then they're like, great. So I think like as you progress through the story, they keep changing their location.
I see.
And so you just need to keep picking up that quest. Or maybe you pick it up once and it just changes every time you do that. But it's also a great way to get around. If you like haven't unlocked certain areas, because once you get all the fleas, they'll be like, okay, we got to move on. Do you want to come with us? And if you do that, then you just like basically get a free fast travel over to the next like location, which is great. They've moved twice for me so far, so I assume they're just going to keep moving wherever I'm going.
Oh, that's interesting. That's good to know. The other tip that I've seen is that once you get the ability to play the needle in, which I don't know like at what point that happens, or if you have it from the start and I just never knew. But if you play the needle in near NPCs, they will sing unique songs.
Yes, they will.
Which is kind of interesting.
It also can be used to... This is something else I want to talk to you about, but it hasn't happened for you yet. But it is also used for a very interesting thing, which I would like your take on when you have progressed a little more. But I think the needle in is cool. That's actually maybe the button I would have preferred they use the tools for, and then maybe needle in is like hold a certain button and then press a button or something like that. Because I feel like the needle in is not, at least right now, is not as used as the tools. So I think perhaps it shouldn't have had a dedicated button, but maybe it does become more important later on. I don't know.
Yeah, like you start playing it during an intense boss fight for a few seconds.
You can play it during boss fights, and you can hear stuff. There's unique stuff that the bosses say, but you just have to find a time to actually do that and not get hit.
Oh man. All right, you are going to have to get out your crystal ball now and predict end of year reception for Silksong. Because I wonder if this game will suffer from what I call Tears of the Kingdom syndrome, where basically, despite it being generally accepted as like the better game between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which was a game that won Game of the Year, Tears of the Kingdom didn't win Game of the Year because people had this like been there, done that attitude towards it, and that's why Game of the Year that year went to Baldur's Gate 3. Do you see something similar happening at the end of the year with this game and Expedition 33, where people are like, yeah, Silksong's great, it's probably better than Hollow Knight, but been there, done that, let's give it to Expedition 33?
It's an interesting question. I do think Expedition 33 was more of a crazy thing that came out of nowhere that really impressed a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Also, I think it was more playable in that it was easier to progress to the ending of that game. And so more people maybe are going to complete it as opposed to Silksong, where people might bounce off of it because it was... some of the bosses are just too punishing. And there's not really like difficulty settings in Silksong. Sure. I don't think it's a problem that Hollow Knight came out previously. I think it's different enough from Hollow Knight that there are enough things that are different. The map is way bigger. I feel like they made enough changes where people are. It's not going to be a Breath of the Wild thing where it's like the same map and there's just like extra stuff basically. They've changed the gameplay enough where I feel like Hollow Knight being a successor to Hollow Knight isn't going to be in the conversation. I think what is going to be in the conversation is truly it versus Expedition 33, unless something else comes out in the next couple of months. But I really think it is going to be between those two things because Expedition 33 came out of nowhere, huge hit, a very unique game currently in this landscape because it's like very French. There was a lot of, it's an interesting gameplay style. It's like turn-based, which is not, we haven't really had like a mainstream turn-based game in a long time. French developer, and the character design, people really clicked with the character design and the music. They had like a special, was it the Game Awards or Gamescom, where they had a special like live performance of one of the songs. Yeah. So like people are into it. And I think
I think to an extent, one of the reasons why it like really popped off was because it sort of has a little bit of that Souls-like DNA where you're going from like camp spot to camp spot, and every time you rest, things respawn so you can grind. But on top of that, it's like combined with like this sort of almost like old school Final Fantasy turn-based style RPG. I think there's a little bit of like Persona mixed in there as well, but like I think this is what people want from Final Fantasy, and we're not getting that from Final Fantasy anymore because they've gone more like action RPG as opposed to turn-based. And so with them having basically abandoned that genre altogether, here's a game that's like I guess even combining a little bit with Baldur's Gate 3, like what if you brought back, it seems like it's a renaissance for turn-based stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. I do feel like I don't know if the conversation about is Silksong too hard or whatever, if that's going to hurt it or ding it in any way, or if it's like I don't know. But also, like we talked about, it took the storefronts down on every platform.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking about it and loving it, seemingly.
That's something I think that it has going for it, is people who like Hollow Knight really like Hollow Knight. I'm one of those people. I own a little figurine of the Knight and of Hornet, and I never buy like game stuff. I was like, I have to own this. The lore of it is so good, and the writing of it is so good. The fan base is just like all about it. So I think it has that benefit. But as far as like reaching a wider audience, I think is the main thing against it. I mean, you're right. It did like crash every storefront, but I wonder how many people are going to stick with it. And because I mean, some of these bosses I've played so far, I think are not even, they're definitely not the hardest bosses. Like, it's going to be, to get like 100% completion in this game, it's going to be intense. And I wonder if that's going to ding it because people simply aren't going to finish it. Whereas, like, I think it's a little easier to finish Expedition 33. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be my game of the year probably because I love it. Unless something like Balatro 2 comes out or something. I don't really think that there's going to be anything to rival it. So for me, at least, it will hit number one. But I couldn't say if, man, imagine if GTA 6 had actually come out this year. Obviously, that would probably be number one, but that got pushed back.
That would have been
I saw an article that they
thing.
have said it's going to be the first quintuple A game.
Well, but Ubisoft said that about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that was a joke. So I don't know.
Oh, did they say? Is that the article I read? Well, they maybe said quadruple.
Yeah, they said quadruple. So this is different, but in the same vein.
I'm curious about the production value of that game. I think it's going to be wild to see. But
it is crazy, though, that Silksong has sort of sparked a discussion around, like, you know, the value of the game, it being $20, and it also being, like, really smooth and performs really well, even on Switch. And it was made by, like, 3 people, and it's, like, really good, and people love it. And then you had, like, developers come out and be like, you can't do this. This was bad because now gamers who don't have any sort of sense of, like, what things cost are going to expect high value games at low prices. And it's just like, well, yeah, hopefully that is the case. So people are, like, pushing back on the devs about that.
It's wild that they are sort of just leaving money on the table because they could have charged like $45 for this or something.
Yeah.
And people would have gladly paid it, but they were like, no, it's $20 is totally fine. And I think they don't care is the big thing. They don't care about the money. They're just happy to play the game, to make the game that people want to play, which I think is great. Crazy that it's a team of 3 and like some subcontractors. Like, it's a masterpiece to me. I mean, I haven't finished it, obviously. I intend to finish it. And with the rate I'm going, hopefully I want it to last, so I'm not trying to like race through it. But I think it will be impossible to platinum this game for most people. Also, I was reading the achievements. One of the achievements is to, I forget, there's like a speedrunner achievement, which seems impossible. But then there's also a like completionist speedrunner achievement where you complete the game with 100% in under 35 hours, which seems just like, why? I don't think anybody's going to do that. But I think it's probably going to be similar to Hollow Knight in that the percentage you get is affected by also like the extra content that'll eventually come out. Because they have said they want to support this game for a while and release more stuff. But I completed Hollow Knight with, I think, 101% completion. I didn't do any of the God Home stuff because that looked too hard to me. But I hope to get a large percent of this one done because I want to see it all and know it all. And I'm loving it. I can't get enough of it. I'll probably start playing it right after we finish recording.
I might as well for a little bit tonight, but I'm enjoying it. But I think I do find the story interesting when I look up videos where people have like explained things, but like as I'm playing through it, I'm not picking up on enough of it to be like, oh yeah, the story is really driving this game for me. It's really more of like the movement and progression and the exploration and sort of the vibe of it more than anything else that keeps me going. And in this
it does
sort
have
of
great
game.
vibes.
Yeah. So we're not done talking about Silksong for sure, because I haven't even finished Act 1 and you're not done with the game either. So we'll return and have more sort of ongoing discussion, I assume, in the coming weeks as we're playing through the game. But anything else you want to throw out there on our sort of initial impressions on Silksong?
The runability is great. I think I said this before, but I do think that's like the most obvious improvement from Hollow Knight. Is just it feels so good to run and dash around. And Hollow Knight, I mean, you're just a little guy, and pogoing around in Hollow Knight felt good, and especially when you got like the dashes and the double jump, that felt great. But man, when you get that run, it feels so good to, especially, I mean, people don't like the boss run backs when you have to like run back to where the boss is, but it does make you feel cool when you get it down to a science and you can just like run through all the enemies and obstacles and do these like cool jumps. Because when you're running and she jumps, she kind of like does a spin sometimes and you can jump off of things.
Well, and even like the pogo, like I know I'm using the diagonal one, but the way she kind of flips around, like just the animations in general in this game look fantastic and really
beautifully animated,
really nicely done.
I love it. I hope that people take that lesson from this in subsequent games. Obviously, Hollow Knight spawned a bunch of people who wanted to emulate that type of Metroidvania, and I think that Silksong will be the same way. And hopefully, I mean, it would be great if in the next like Metroid game, straight up Metroid, if there was like a run button like that. I think you do in Metroid Dread is the only one I've played. I think you do get a run where you can like run up walls and stuff, but it's kind of hard to control. Just like the movement is so important in these games. And I think Silksong really understands that. Like it's so fun to traverse. Like there's that shopkeeper in what's the lava area? The hot zone. I forget the name of the biome. Yes, Deep Docks. Yeah.
Deep Docks.
There's that vendor in Deep Docks, the Forge Daughter, and I would have to assume at some point her inventory is going to refresh, but it has not for me, and I've bought everything she has. But it's a joy to just fast travel to Deep Docks and run over to her and like check her stock. I never am like bummed that I did that, because it's just like it's so fun to. There are a couple long stretches that you can just run through and jump around, and it's great. It's a joy to play, and I can't wait to play more of it.
I do feel like the flying enemies, there's like almost like a blind spot in the car with some of them where like you can slash forward in front of you and not hit them, and you can slash upward and not hit them, and somehow they will fly right into you and hit you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happened to me before. And I also feel like the downward sort of diagonal pogo, I can't tell you how many times I have taken damage because the window of attack ended just as I was getting into the hitbox of the enemy.
Yeah.
And another thing is bosses having seemingly an enormous hitbox even when they are staggered. I take damage way too often accidentally by trying to go in and deal damage to the boss after they've been staggered, and I got too close apparently. So it's little nitpicky things like that hopefully they will patch and fix, although some of them I don't think they intend to, like the fact that the downward pogo attack animation ends eventually and you can take damage if you don't time it right. That's just gonna be part of the game, I feel like. But
yeah, you just kind of have to learn that. Speaking of blind spots, I would say a good way to play this is on the Switch too, because again, the haptics are great. However, this game has ultra-wide monitor support, which is fascinating to me. And so if I was to play this again, I think I would get it on Steam and connect it to a laptop that I have an ultra-wide monitor. My wife has an ultra-wide monitor. And so I think I would
especially
play
with like
it that
the
way.
running, because you're moving through the environment so fast. That was like I enjoy being able to run. Although I find like you have like a short perch and you're trying to hit the run button to do like a longer jump. That doesn't always work out. Sometimes you just fall because it didn't register your jump. This stuff like that kind of I find annoying. Or like when you run, you can easily accidentally run into stuff or like fall off of things and get hit. So like if you did have a wide angle monitor like that, I feel like maybe that would be very beneficial for this particular game.
I am also playing this at 120 hertz, but I don't think I can tell the difference. Because I initially couldn't figure out how to get my Switch to output 120 hertz. And then I figured it out after playing for like an hour. And I don't think I can tell the difference between 60 and 120, but I am playing it at
Well, it depends on
like
your
max
monitor.
resolution.
So what monitor are you playing on?
I'm playing on a TV.
Oh, but it has like a 120 refresh rate mode?
Yeah, it turned out that what I had to do was actually not with the Switch, it was with the TV. I had to turn on the performance mode on that specific HDMI port or whatever. And then it was finally outputting at 120 hertz.
I was going to say, because the monitor I'm playing it on doesn't go up to 120, so I just have not even messed with it. But I
don't think you're missing anything.
I could plug it into my computer monitor and try that out, but yeah, I don't know if it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our initial thoughts on Silksong. Do you have any parting wisdom?
You know, my parting wisdom for last week was to play Hollow Knight and the ramp up for Silksong. And I think a lot of people did take that advice, not necessarily from me, but there were Steam charts where people were playing through, like Hollow Knight had a ton of concurrent users or players, and I think that's great. My new parting wisdom is to play Silksong, because I think you could go back to Hollow Knight and get something out of it, but why play Hollow Knight when you can play Silksong right now? It's in the zeitgeist, everyone's loving it. I think hop on the bandwagon, check it out. It's a delight.
Although I believe Team Cherry talked about the fact that you don't necessarily need to have played Hollow Knight for this game, and they wanted it to be something that anybody could just jump in, even if you'd never played Hollow Knight, and you would not feel super lost or whatever. At least not any more so than anyone else playing Silksong.
I think it's a great point. Yeah, you don't have to play. There's not a ton of. I mean, eventually people probably will find lore connections between the two, but you really don't need to stress about what happened in Hollow Knight. You can just kind of dive into this and be happy.
Yeah. Well, on that note, go ahead and follow this podcast on YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, and Audible. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye, Shaw.
Goodbye.